We'll now have a roll call to establish quorum. When your name is called, please make sure your microphone is unmuted, and please note that your yes or present response will be deemed to be a yes vote when the quorum call is used as a reference vote for later items. And we will start. Chairman Waguespack is present. Vice Chair Hairston.
Present.
Alderman Hopkins.
Present.
Alderwoman Dowell.
Here.
Alderwoman King. Alderman Sawyer.
Here.
Alderman Mitchell. Alderwoman Harris.
Here.
Alderman Beal. Alderwoman Sadowski.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
Present.
Alderman Cardenas. Alderman Quinn.
Here.
Alderman Burke.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Hi from Brighton Park here.
Which park?
Brighton Park,
Okay.
not Wicker Park. Don't worry.
Alderman Moore.
Alderman David Moore is present, Chairman.
Thank you. Alderman Curtis.
Present.
Alderman O'Shea.
Here.
Alderman Brookins.
Yes.
Alderwoman Tabaris.
Present.
Alderman Scott.
Present.
Alderman Burnett.
Present.
Alderman Irvin. Alderman Taliaferro.
Alderman Burnett votes yes too. Sorry.
So motion passes.
Just for yourself. We haven't had a motion yet, but I get you. Alderman Boris.
I'm sorry, it's another meeting.
Okay, sorry. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, I should point out, I think the Chicago Plan Commission was called at the same time. So we'll have a couple of aldermen going back and forth. Alderwoman Austin.
Here.
Alderman Villegas.
Present.
Alderwoman Mitz. Alderman Sposato.
Nick Sposato is here.
Alderman Napolitano. Alderman Riley. Alderwoman Smith. Alderman Tunney.
Alderman Smith is here.
Thank you. Alderman Osterman.
Present.
Alderwoman Silverstein.
Present.
Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Okay. Alderman Mitchell.
Present.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a quorum. And as you know, we start out with the public speakers today. Let me just double check, make sure. Okay. We have one speaker today, Mr. John Friedman. And if any other aldermen come in, I'll mark you as present. But we have Mr. Friedman first.
Good morning, Chairman Waguespack and alderpersons. My name is John Friedman. I am president of the North River Commission and co-chair of the Save Your Ash Coalition. Last week, 42 alderpersons co-signed a resolution to continue inoculating and preserving 45,000 of the 50,000 mature ash trees that currently grace our city's streets and boulevards. That's a number still considered healthy enough to save. This would supplement the mayor's proposed program of planting thousands of new trees and give the young trees time to grow and mature. That resolution now resides with the Budget Committee. I will not take up your valuable time today extolling the environmental and societal benefits of saving these ash. I only want to focus on the financial benefits of preserving these magnificent trees that make up a full 10% of Chicago's parkway canopy. A decision to inoculate and preserve them, as opposed to having to remove and replace them, will free up tens of millions of budget dollars that can then be allocated elsewhere. As a forestry official testified 2 weeks ago, it would only cost the city $120 each to save a tree for 3 years, or $1,500 to cut it down, remove it, and replace it. Multiply those numbers by 45,000 trees, and the savings are over $60 million, money that can fund other sorely needed budget items. $6 million to treat versus over $67 million to remove and replace. That's probably one of the easiest decisions this committee will have to make. There are on average 1,000 ash trees in each of your wards and several on every tree line block. During the hearing with Forestry, many alders decried the city's current tree management process as a source of great frustration for their constituents. Some residents have to wait a year or more for service. Adding another 45,000 dead and dying trees to your wards will elevate frustration to a public relations nightmare. In addition, all those dying trees will create liability exposure for the city of epic proportions. Ash trees are self-pruning, ask any arborist. That means that once they die, they shed their branches and drop them to the streets and sidewalks below. Several years ago, I personally had a branch come crashing down through the windshield of my car and embed itself in the front seat. Luckily for me and my family, the car was parked and empty at the time, but others haven't been so lucky. Chicago had to pay a $5.7 million settlement to Eric Leon when he was hit and paralyzed by a falling 40-foot limb. Multiply that number by 45,000, and the city could face a potential liability of over $250 billion. The $6 million cost of treatment to preserve these trees is an extremely cheap insurance policy. We know that this and other committees will have some tough budget decisions to be made over the next few weeks. Saving these trees shouldn't be one of them. Please include ash tree inoculation in the 2022 budget. I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Friedman. And just to go back quickly, I have Alderwoman Mitz and Alderman Riley. And checking.
Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Alderman Cardenas is here, and okay, I think we're set. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have members from the Law Department and Buildings Department with us today.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I'm kind of driving. Did you get me by chance, Alderman Perkins?
Yes, I have you. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Chairman Alderman King is here as well.
I got you. Thank you. And I see we have some other aldermen, non-committee members, Alderman Cardona, LaSpada, and if any others show up, I'll call on you. All right. So again, good morning, everyone. We have 3 items on our agenda today for finance. These items were sent out to everyone over the weekend, but also just done, I believe, Monday and Wednesday. So if you look in your email, you will have all the documents there in case you need to reference anything without printing out some of the longer documents. We also have with us today members of the Law Department, but especially Budget Director Susie Park, Chief Financial Officer Jenny Bennett, Commissioner Baudet from Buildings. We have Comptroller Rashid Soni. So we will have opportunity to ask each one of them questions. Item number 1 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to approve the levy of real estate taxes for the city of Chicago for the year 2022. And for this agenda item, we will have Budget Director Park and Chief Financial Officer Jenny Bennett for testimony on the matter. And they will give a brief overview, and then we will take questions from aldermen. So are we ready?
Yes.
Right.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Wagasback, Vice Chairman Hairston, members of the Committee on Finance, and members of the City Council. My name is Susie Park, Budget Director for the City of Chicago, and I also speak for Jenny Bennett, who is the Chief Financial Officer as well for the city. Thank you for being here today to discuss the City of Chicago property tax levy for 2022. The 2022 property tax levy totals $1,000,000,000 $709,387,000. This is an increase of $76.5 million compared to the total 2021 property tax levy and includes a $28.6 million increase for new property declaration completed over the last year, $25 million for debt service payment towards the new capital bond, and $22.9 million consumer price index CPI adjustment. The adjustments to the levy for the capital bond and the CPI were approved as part of the 2021 budget. The 2022 property tax levy is allocated to cover general obligation bonds, a portion of the contribution to the city's 4 pension funds, library maintenance and operations, and the city college's bond payment for which the city is responsible. The amount of the levy used to make pension payments has increased $22.9 million, while the amount of the levy used for debt service on general obligation bonds has increased by $53.6 million. The portion of the levy used for library maintenance and operations remains unchanged from 2021. Thank you for your consideration of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Budget Director. So ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you had time to review any of this documentation. This document is document number 4759 that was sent around. And we will take questions first from Alderman Patrick Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. We got a flurry of documents just recently, so I haven't gone through them. I'm just trying to understand, Ms. Park, if you can come back through, the information I had was the 2022 levy was increasing by 22.9 million. You just said that, but then you said also 56 million.
So the 22.9 million is specifically the CPI increase to the levy. The whole levy is increasing by 76.5 million.
Okay, because I have a document
Yes.
that just shows in my community the increase in taxes of $22.9 million.
Yes, and that was a
So
one-pager.
my constituents don't have to pay the other 54 million?
Nope, that was that one pager was specifically around the CPI because we got a lot of questions around the CPI portion of the increase, and so the one pager that you have is specifically around the impact of the CPI adjustment.
Okay, so to tell a constituent of mine that your taxes are only going up $79, or here on average in a $22 isn't accurate. It would actually
the
be
total increase for your ward is about $37 for both the CPI and capital.
If 22 million increases on a $300,000 house, increases it annually by $22 for $22 million increase, but the actual increase is 76. I went into law, not math, but if I triple,
so don't forget of the
that
70,
amount,
of the 76 million, the portion that's new property is 28.6 million. That does not impact.
Okay, so 20 point new prop, 28.6.
Correct, it's new property.
And I'm sorry to be doing this meeting, conducting it now, but I haven't talked to anyone.
Alderman,
I should say no.
That's fine. That's what it's for.
28.6. I'm sorry, Chairman.
I said you're just fine. That's what it's for. So
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay, so 76 less 28.6 because it's new. So that's like 28 million. So it's 22 plus 28. So it would like double.
So if you take of the 76, 28.6 is for new property. What the taxpayers will feel is the 25 million increase for debt service. as well as the 22.9 million adjustment for CPI.
Okay, so it's going up 48 million. Okay.
But that's the
Yeah,
whole levy. I just want to clarify, that is not the dollar amount. That's the millions for the whole levy, but what an average $250,000 homeowner will feel is, for the CPI was about $1.50. And I think also around the capital plan, it was similarly in that area. So it's
Right, yeah, I was
$1.50
using-
a month. So
That was for a $250,000 house, right? So it was $18 annually. And then, but that was only for the 22 million. And then it would be a little bit more than $18 theoretically for the 25 million.
right, so it's about $37
About
total
$40
for the year.
Annually.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I didn't have that sheet. That's why I'm trying to, in order to answer my constituents, which I haven't even had a chance to schedule my town hall meeting.
Well, I'm happy to also send you, Alderman, a one pager for the full, if that would.
That would be great if somebody could send me that.
Okay, we'll put that on
would
our,
be very helpful.
yes, we'll get that to you today.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for right now, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Susie, please make sure everybody gets that what Patrick said, so for the whole breakdown.
Sure, will do, Alderman.
All right. Director Park, we have Alderman Tunney.
No, I just want to be recorded that I'm here in the finance meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman. Yes.
Thank
I know
you.
you're in Plan Commission too.
Yeah.
I have you down.
Thank you.
But I will focus on two, the Fulton Market Design Guidelines and safety. The 315 North Native.
Hey, Alderman, sorry, I had to mute you there. All right, are there any other questions for the Budget Director on the levy of real estate taxes for the City of Chicago? All right. May I have a motion then to approve the tax levy item number 02021-4759 by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum?
So move.
Roll call,
By
please.
Alderman Austin.
Roll call.
Yes, we have a roll call.
Chairman, is this a roll call on the omnibus or is this can you clarify? Sorry, I stepped away.
This will be a roll call on the tax levy item number 475. It's item 4759. Give me 1 second just to get my paper ready here.
You're good. You're good, Chairman.
Okay, sorry, lost audio there for a second. All right. We are doing, as I mentioned, we're doing roll call on item number 1 on the agenda. This is the tax levy. And we have a roll call request. So sorry, guys. My mute keeps going on and it's flashing in front of the screen there. Okay, let me try it. If it goes off again, I'll just start over or go back to a point. All right, for item number 1, Alderman Wagasback votes yes. Vice Chair Hairston?
Yes.
Alderman Hopkins?
No.
Alderwoman Dowell?
Yes.
Alderwoman King? Alderman Sawyer?
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell?
Aye.
Alderwoman Harris?
Alderman
Aye.
King is a yes. I apologize, Chairman.
That's okay. Alderwoman Harris?
Aye.
Alderman Beal?
No.
Alderwoman Sadowski Garza? Alderman Thompson?
No.
Alderman Cardenas? Alderman Quinn?
No.
Alderman Burke?
No.
Alderman Lopez?
I vote no.
Okay. Alderman Moore.
Alderman Moore is an aye.
Okay. Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea. Alderman.
No, sorry.
That's okay. Hold on. I got you as no. Alderman Brookins on the phone.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Tabaris.
No.
Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderman Irvin. Actually, I didn't have him. Alderman Taliaferro.
And Scott, if you could, Chairman, if you could add me as the president on the
Yes.
roll call vote as well. Aye.
Okay, I have Alderman Taliaferro as present for purposes of quorum and an aye on number one. Alderman Raboris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Austin.
Aye.
Alderman
Alderman
Villegas.
Scott, I'm sorry. Oh, Alderman Scott, it's Chairwoman Garza. I'm an aye.
Thank you. And Alderman Villegas. Sorry, I didn't hear.
No.
Okay. Alderwoman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Sposato.
No.
Alderman. Let's see, I didn't have Napolitano. Alderman Napolitano, just checking to see if he popped in there. No. Okay. Alderman Riley.
No.
Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney. Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Silverstein.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had 19 ayes and 12 nays. Alderman Soldowski Garza was on, Alderman Cardenas not in, Napolitano, Irvin out, Taliaferro I have. All right. Item number one passes 19 to 12. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Budget Director. And I know you're going to stay on for item number two. So moving on to item number two, ladies and gentlemen, this is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to amend various sections of the municipal code which relate to revenue derived from certain taxes, fines, and fees. We're joined by Susie Park, the Budget Director, Chief Financial Officer Jenny Bennett, and Comptroller Rishma Soni for testimony on the matter. And again, on this one, we're referring to document number 020214786. This entails the fines and fees reform, environmental fines, utility building relief extension, building permit fees, vacant building registration, miscellaneous items, and we have also the building commissioner, Matt Baudet, on the line as well in case there are any questions. And we will start out, I believe, with Director Park again.
Thank you, Chairman Wagasback. Just to go through a quick summary of each of the articles that you just described. Article 1 is the fines and fees reform. This provides additional fines and fees reforms, which include 3 key elements: debt forgiveness for persons that come into compliance, income-based tickets for qualifying individuals, and fix-it tickets that give residents a pathway to compliance. Article 2 is around environmental fines. This provides adjustments to categorizations of emitters, allows prepayment of certain environmental tickets, right sizes requirements on demolitions and renovations to align with the type of facility. Article 3 is around the utility billing relief extension. This removes the pilot designation and end date for the utility billing relief program. Article 4 is building permit fees. This creates equity in permit fees by increasing rates for new construction to match those currently applicable to rehabilitation work, increases fees for specialized reviews, and adds an annual CPI to these fees. Article 5 is the vacant building registration. This reduces vacant building registration fees for owners to facilitate enhanced compliance, retains higher registration fees for mortgagee registration, and reduces renewal fees for all registrants. Article 6, Section 1 is around credits and refunds. This aligns timeframe for the tax refund filing with the Illinois Department of Revenue requirements. Article 6, Section 2 is the lease tax software clarification. This corrects a provision that referred to certain software licenses as exempt from the sales tax when in fact they are not sales at all. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the proposed revenue ordinance.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions for the budget director on item number 2? Alderwoman King.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Director Parks, can you share the details on the vacant buildings again?
Yes, and I'm actually going to pass this to Commissioner Bidet, who can go into a little more detail around the vacant building registration change that we're making.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chairman, and good morning, Alderwoman King. So the vacant building registration, as you know, the primary goal of that is to collect data and to enhance public safety. Also for the owner, the great benefit of it is that when you do register your building, the water department will go out and shut off the water, and finance will stop billing you for that. We see the stories in the newspaper of people who have, the building's been vacant, but they're still getting water bills and such, and that builds up a lot over time. There's also the email notification system. So when you register your building, you will get emails if there is anything that is wrong with the building. So if the front windows are broken, you'll get an email that you'll need to go out and fix that. If there's other issues with, you're not maintaining the property, you can get emails on that too. And also for our first responders, it gives a notification that those buildings are vacant. So they know that when they're responding to any calls for that property. And they also have a contact information with the owner or a manager, so they could contact somebody in the event that they need to get somebody out there right away. So what we really want to do, make it equitable for people to register these buildings. We've seen in the past that some of the high fees, especially for the owners, that has been a disincentive to register your buildings. As Budget Director Park said, we are still keeping the same fee for mortgagees. So the banks that have mortgages on these buildings will still be paying the $700 fee, but we did see a need to reduce it for the owners so we can get a lot more registrations of these vacant buildings, which is our goal.
Okay. And I know this is slightly off topic, but a little bit, but how about the redress for vacant building owners who aren't, doing what they should do, fixing their window or other quality of life issues that impact our communities?
And on that, we do work closely with the law department and also Streets and Sand for the high weeds and CDOT if they're not shoveling their sidewalks. So we do work with law and our fellow departments to do whatever we can to hold those folks accountable, whether it's through administrative hearings or circuit court. We do take all the measures that are possible to make sure that they're good and responsive neighbors.
Okay. All right. That I'm more concerned on that end, and hopefully we can use some of the same tools to bring, them into compliance when we need to.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderwoman King. Question from Alderwoman Dowell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yesterday, Commissioner, we had a conversation about this change you were making. And since I have Comptroller Sony here, I'm wondering if she can tell us how much money we have collected from these mortgagees and banks that, we're servicing their property in some fashion.
Chairman Dowell, thank you for the question. I don't have that information on me, but I can definitely pass that through the chair. So just so I understand the question, we want to know how many of these mortgagees, banking institutions are actually paying the fee, or
not so much the registration fee, but we have to sometimes clean their yards, cut down bushes, shovel remove snow,
Maintain the
they
property.
get fined. Are we collecting that money?
Okay. So yes, in terms of them like having, let's say, high grass or not maintaining the property, we definitely would be, there is enforcement for that. I can find out how much we have collected and assessed.
Thank you. I'd like to get that as soon as you are able to do so. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Comptroller, once you get it, we'll pass it out to everybody
Sounds good.
as soon as you can. All right. Alderman Cardenas.
Sorry, Chairman, I was in another call as well, but I missed the levy. If possible, I want to be recorded as yes on the levy.
Present for purposes of quorum in the levy.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I
Do you
want
have
to
any
be
questions
recorded
on?
as present at quorums, which means that would
Yes.
apply to the levy. Thank you.
Yes. Do you have any other questions on this one? On the?
I know I'm good. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
listening.
Are there any other questions for? Yes, Alderman Tunney.
Alderman Wagisback, Cardenas probably needs to be voted as a yes because there was a roll call on the levy.
Yes.
All right.
No, the vote was over.
Point of order, Chairman. Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Lopez. I think he already. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to point out that it was a roll call vote,
Yes, I know.
which was taken and finished. So Alderman Cardenas can be recorded as part of quorum, but not a part of the actual vote at that time.
Yes.
And as
Okay,
I said,
thank you.
Chairman, that I want to be recorded as part of the quorum, and if it applied to, I did not know that there was roll call vote called. So therefore, I think
You're-
we're all on the same page.
Yeah, you're present for purposes of quorum if there was a quorum, if it was a.
Correct.
Not a roll call vote. So I've got it. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification, everyone.
Chairman, I need clarification. He's
He's
present.
present for purposes of quorum. He's not present for purposes of the roll call.
Thank you.
All right. Law Department, did you have any comment? I saw that you had unmuted.
No comment. The way you've
Oh, I'm sorry.
stated it is correct. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And for purposes of the record, that was Jeff Levine from the Law Department. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're still on item number 2. Did anyone else have any questions for the comptroller, the budget director? Alderman Tunney, did you have a question?
I did, and this is for the
Go ahead.
comptroller. I want to specifically talk about speed cameras around schools and parks. I had gotten a response from budget that if we compromised on the speed limit from the currently 6 to either 8 or reinstate 10, I did not really get a clear idea about, and I'll give you an example. In 2020, total revenue on speed cameras was X. What the forecasted revenue for 21 specifically on speed cameras is what? And then reinstating this for the year, I had heard that changing this speed limit could cost the taxpayers up to $40 million, but I've asked for clarification of what that means because I'm only hearing the bottom line, but I can't put it into context.
Yes, and thank you, Alderman Tunney. I do have that information that we're running for. I can give you what was paid, let's say, for 2019. 2020 with COVID was obviously impacted, but for 2019, we collected about 39.1 million. And can get you the budgeted amounts for 2021. We're also running a report for you for the details of 2021 and 2020.
but you do know what 2020, regardless of COVID, how much
Yes, sorry.
Were we on hiatus, if I'm not mistaken, or what?
So yes, there was a period of time that we were allowing for relief, but just the activity was so low, just because there were not a lot of people on the streets, especially during mid-March till about July. We collected about 29 million.
So
2020.
In 19, we collected 31. In 20, in
in 2019, we collected 39.1.
Right.
And in 2020, we collected 29 million.
Okay. And what is the forecast? You don't have the forecast?
I don't have it with me right now, but I can definitely get that to you.
Because I've asked for that, and I just get this number that to me doesn't make any sense. So what are we budgeting for 2022 on this, in this source of fine?
Okay. So we'll get that information for both 2021 budgeted and 2022 budgeted.
I thought that's what we're here for, to budget the revenue that we anticipate from this.
If you give me a few minutes, I can get that information.
Okay, it's not a new ask, and that's why I'm a little frustrated.
Okay, no, I apologize. I'll get that to you in a few minutes.
Thank you. That was my question, Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Alderman. All right, Alderman David Moore. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. So help me understand on this, what Alderman Tani is talking about and what Alderman Bill been trying to propose and change. So right now we're at, from the last budget, we went down to 6, right? Miles an hour, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And from my understanding, if it was 6 miles an hour over, that amount is how much? Is how much? Not the total amount for that ticket I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ticket amount.
So the ticket amount from 6 to 9 is, or 6 to 10 is 35. And then it goes, or sorry, 6 to 9 plus is 35 and 10 and above is 100.
And so if we push it back up, is that a dollar amount still the 35, or does that dollar amount go up?
If we push, just so I understand the question.
The speed limit back up.
So if we, let's say, instead of doing 6 and above, we do something like 7 and above.
Or what was it before we went to 6?
We were at 10 and above.
Right, and that ticket was $100, right?
Yeah, so it was $100 for those tickets. Yes, and
Right.
I'm sorry, I want to clarify. It was a lot.
Comptroller, let me clarify something too. I mean, you can continue to answer the question, but there's nothing in this particular item that's related to speed cameras or to item number 3, but I think you can, if you don't mind, go ahead and answer the question anyway.
So yes, it's actually 11 and above, that's 100, and the 10 to 11 is 35. So we did move it down to 6, and this was based on studies that CDOT had done based on safety. What we saw in 2020 is even though traffic was down due to COVID, the number of fatalities were up. And based upon those studies, we worked with CDOT to figure out what would be a good threshold to ensure that there were less fatalities. And that brought us to the 6.
Oh, okay, so 10 to 11 was still 35. Then we dropped it from 6 to
10 at 35.
At 35. That's all I needed to know.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Alderman Beal.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for the record, the data that the department provided us as far as fatalities was citywide fatalities. There was only one fatality in or around the speed cameras citywide. And so we're being misled by the numbers. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Alderman Osterman.
I would just appreciate if there was a report or study that CDOT and the controller worked on related to the change, if that could be made available to the committee, or we could set up a follow-up briefing on that. I think to understand where the fatalities occurred and where the accidents occurred, but just would appreciate that information. Thank you.
My understanding, I mean, we weren't involved directly in the actual report, but my understanding is that CDOT had worked on that, so we'll work with CDOT to get.
Yeah, I think we can make a direct ask of them to provide that through the chair to get to everyone.
Thank you.
All right, while she's still on the hot seat here for questions, are there any other questions for the comptroller, budget director on this item? All right, then may I have a motion for approval of this item 02021-4786 by a roll call vote?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Alderwoman Dowell makes a motion to approve this item by a roll call vote. And we will start out with Chairman Waguespack. I am a yes. Vice Chair Hairston?
Yes.
Alderman Hopkins?
No.
Alderwoman Dowell?
Aye.
Alderwoman King?
Yes.
Alderman Sawyer?
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell?
Aye.
Alderwoman Harris?
Aye.
Alderman Beal?
No.
Alderwoman Sadowski Garza?
Aye.
Alderman Thompson?
No.
Alderman Cardenas? You can vote on this one. Alderman Quinn?
No.
Alderman Burke?
No.
Alderman Lopez?
Nope.
Alderman Moore? Alderman Curtis?
Aye.
Alderman Moore first, aye.
Thank you. Alderman O'Shea? Alderman Brookins?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tabaris?
No.
Alderman Scott?
Aye.
Alderman Burnett?
Aye.
Alderman Irvin? Alderman Taliaferro?
Alderman Telefero's an aye.
Alderman Raboyris?
Aye.
Alderwoman Austin?
Aye.
Alderman Villegas?
No.
Alderwoman Mitz?
Aye.
Alderman Spizzato?
Spizato's a no.
Alderman Riley?
No.
Alderwoman Smith?
Aye.
Alderman Tunney? Alderman Osterman?
Aye.
Alderwoman Silverstein?
Yes.
All right. Alderman Moore, I had you. Alderman Cardenas? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have 20 ayes and 10 nays on item number 2. And that is item number 02021-4786, 20-10, and the motion passes. All right, moving on to item number 3. Item number 3 on our agenda is a recommendation for proposed ordinance regarding the authority to amend certain bond ordinances and issue various new bonds and levy and collection of direct annual taxes. We have the Chief Financial Officer, Jenny Bennett, for testimony on this matter. And CFO Bennett, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman.
Go ahead and give a brief overview and then we'll take questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Good morning, Chairman Wagasback, Vice Chairman Hairston, and members of the Finance Committee and City Council. My name is Jenny Wong Bennett, Chief Financial Officer for the city. Today, I'm here to present a summary of the bond ordinance proposal. Current market conditions are extremely favorable for the city, both from an absolute rate and credit spread perspective. These conditions have created a number of refinancing opportunities to generate interest rate savings, as well as lock in financing for the city's capital plans. As a result, we would like to propose the following financings: $660 million in general obligation bonds to fund various capital improvements for the Chicago Recovery Plan. Breakdowns of the projects are provided in Exhibit 3A in the ordinance. $1.55 billion in O'Hare financings, of which $850 million is for refinancing, and $700 million will finance the continuation of the O'Hare 21 plan and largely the construction of Terminal 5. $1.2 billion in water and wastewater financings, of which $600 million is refinancing for savings, and $600 million will finance the continuation of the 2021 to 2025 capital plan, largely for water main replacements, water plant improvements, and sewer lining. The city anticipates entering the market for these financings throughout the course of 2022. The proposed underwriting teams have been shared with the City Council, and I'm proud to note that the minority firm participation is 52% of total underwriting participation, which is double the historical targets. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, CFO Bennett. These documents, if you need to check again, were sent Monday and Wednesday. They also have the EDS link to it if you needed to get into it, but I'm sure she can answer questions on that. And then the entire package should be in PDFs in your mailboxes. I will start out with Alderman Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. I looked at the list of law firms that are on this bond ordinance, and I see that Cat Muchin is on there. In and out of abundance of caution, as I've done in the past, I have my uncle, who is of council, the former mayor of the city, is of council at Cat Muchin. In and out of abundance of caution, I will file a Rule 14 and submit it to the clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Thompson will have a Rule 14 on the roll call. Alderman David Moore.
Thank you, Chairman. On this capital piece, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because I didn't hear you mention it there when we did our briefing. Is this one of the parts where you had in there in terms of some of the capital stuff was part of for the parks as well?
For the $660 million that's being authorized for the Chicago Recovery Plan, there is included within that certain investments for the parks.
So is that part of this one?
Yes, that is a part of this. That is a part of this ordinance.
And of that 660, based on the recovery, how much did you guys set aside for parks?
The neighborhood park improvements are $27.6 million, and then there are some parks infrastructure improvements for $8 million.
All right, thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. And Alderman Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions. Just an observation that this refinancing and reinvestment package, in my opinion, takes full advantage of currently favorable but rapidly changing market conditions. This is the right time to do this. And I just wanted to commend Ms. Bennett and the team for a good job. I intend to vote yes on this.
Thank you, Alderman. Then to, excuse me, Alderman Cardenas.
Chairman, same thing on the revenue bonds. I think Jenny Bennett has done an outstanding job on this, setting up the city for obviously huge savings on this. And I think I missed the revenue vote also was on the call. I'd like to be recorded as yes, please.
Alderman, we already recorded it, but I think you can get in on this one. Let me go to Alderman Sawyer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd also like to, I just reviewed the list and I noticed that my cousin is on one or more of the financing teams for this. So out of an abundance of caution, I'd like to invoke Rule 14 because of that fact, and I'll send something to that effect.
Thank you, Alderman Sawyer. Alderman Sawyer will do a Rule 14 when we come to the roll call. And Alderman Villegas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it possible to get a list of the capital projects that have been identified that will be completed via these funds?
Yes, the capital projects, and I'm sorry, Alderman, you're referring to the Chicago Recovery Plan or in total?
Any funding that has to do with capital, I'd like to see a list of all the projects.
Okay, yeah, so we can provide that to you. There is an exhibit within the ordinance for the Chicago Recovery Plan. There has previously, been approved and considered by the council the capital plans for O'Hare, Midway, and the water and sewer departments, but we can certainly provide that information to you as well.
Thank you.
CFO, is it this document here that you're referring to?
That document has the totality of all of the projects, including some of the ARP projects. And then we also added, for clarity within the exhibit to the ordinance, the precise breakdown of the bond funded projects as well.
Yes, yeah, I saw that in the document. It's a pretty large document, so if you open it, make sure you have a good computer for it. But the other Chicago Recovery Plan document is also in our folders that were downstairs during the budget hearings with the blue cover on it, and should be available there too. But I think whatever Alderman Villegas has requested there, if you can just provide that as well, that'd be helpful. Let me go to Alderman Tunney.
Chairman, just to piggyback on Alderman Villegas, my staff says, that report is 364 pages. So I want to know by community area or ward where bond projects are, where this work is going to happen. So I can let my constituents know that by voting for this, we're going to see improvements in my ward. And I'd like to know a little bit more specific. We all going to use Midway and O'Hare, but I want to know what's coming back to my ward or Lakeview, period. Mm-hmm. So that's more of a clarification to Villegas's request, I think.
Sure. And just on the bond ordinance, there was also another breakdown provided through the chair post our budget testimony that budget provided, which broke down the Chicago Recovery Plan into ARP and bond funded projects. As it relates to information by ward, it's something that is in the process of being developed. Some of these projects, haven't yet been developed yet. So as we go through the course of the year and provide regular updates on the Chicago Recovery Plan, we'll be sure to include local level data for that.
Well, as Chairman Villegas has said, if it's not in the pipeline, it ain't going to happen next year. That's not how projects work. So I understand. I think I'm in the dark, so to speak, as to what I can present to my community, even for 23, because we all know if it's already 22 in regards to planning.
There is money that will go out the door in 21. The Chicago Recovery Plan spend is intended to cover a number of years. But, by way of example, with the Chicago Works Plan that was passed last year, there has been spend that has already occurred. I think to your point, it does take time to complete projects. And, as a result of the fact that we are still building out some of the projects related to the Chicago Recovery Plan, what we've, gone through in a number of briefings related to the projects here are projects that do cover citywide. One that Alderman Moore brought up relates to the parks, for which there are a significant number of investments there. And obviously, we're going to work.
Well, all I'm saying is that the more we know about our community and what to expect, the better we can serve our community. And I'm not feeling like much money is coming to the Lakeview area, and it's more than the 44th Ward. So that's my feeling. So, and if you could give me some indication of what is going to come to the greater Lakeview community, so I can be part of the planning of it, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderman. We'll work to get you some more information around that.
Thank you. That was my question, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Riley, sorry. Go ahead, Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Chairman. And I came to committee today also prepared to vote for this ordinance. I do think that the entire team's done a good job. The market conditions are such that we should take advantage of the refinancing opportunity. But to Alderman Tani's point, we're being asked to vote on capital funding, and there's this nebulous cloud over what exactly are the projects we're going to be funding here. And I think each alderman owes it to their constituents to be able to explain to them what will be delivered to the local community through this plan. And I understand that there are big buckets for O'Hare and other major infrastructure, and that's all appropriate. But I think it's also appropriate for aldermen to have a more detailed view, even if some things are still in the works, of what it is they're voting to fund. And I know that there are a number of my colleagues on the north side and the south side that have projects that they're working on with local business owners and SSAs and others to make major improvements to business and hospitality corridors. And it would be helpful to know if those types of expenditures, which could be $2-3 million a pop, would also be covered under this plan. So through the chair, I would like to get as much specific detail as I can about projects that would be included in the 42nd Ward, in the neighborhoods that comprise the 42nd Ward. But also, it would be helpful if I could get an answer as to whether or not some of these, community investments for commercial corridors that have not yet been fully baked, but are in the process, would those qualify for this program?
Alderman, we can work to get some additional information to you on that and try to get as much as we can about what will be applicable in your ward.
Thank you. And I think maybe for future presentations for capital, there should be, I think, a greater focus on the more granular level where aldermen meet their constituents, which is, at the ward level and neighborhood level. So thank you for that. And thank you, Chairman.
All right, Alderman. Go to Alderwoman Garza.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't really I have a question. I'm fully prepared to vote on this, but I too want to just reiterate what my last two colleagues had said. We need to know what the projects are. It's really hard to justify things to our constituents if we don't have the projects that are being funded. I know in the past, we always got a list of what the capital projects were going to be. So please try to get that to us so that we know where this money is going to. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Osterman.
I'm not sure if we got this information during the budget process, but I think I asked if the capital money we'd be getting from the state in regards to the parks and or city for sister agencies. So I think that also helps us put a context of what we're funding, but also what else is coming in to help support the capital. But if we got that, great. If not, I'd like to get that before early next week. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, our expectation in terms of the state capital funding is largely around increased horizontal funding for mostly CDOT projects. There are a few other discrete projects that we expect funding for, but by and large, it's really for the horizontal infrastructure program. And that's been programmed within the budgets that we've talked about. While we're on the subject, we also, have been monitoring very closely the infrastructure bill at the federal level. As I understand it, there, even with passage, there would be some time before we were to see that money, some of which is competitive, but we'll, be sure to incorporate that within our future discussions, as well as how it is that we plan for the future capital plans.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. All right, are there any other questions for Budget Director, Comptroller, Alderwoman Hairston? Go ahead.
I'm going to chime in. I too was prepared, but to vote on this, but I would like to see us hold it and until they can get some information. I don't know if you want to recess until we can get that information, but I think it would be helpful if we had it before and not after.
I'd like to second this, Alderman Villegas. I'd like to second Vice Chair Hairston's motion there.
Well, honestly, I think we have had discussions on this in that budget, and I know everybody that was directing questions to it wanted to get some more details. Let me go to Alderman Mitchell first.
No, I was thinking the exact same thing, so I removed my hand. But I agree with what my colleague said. We do need to have this listed out before we continue on with this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just make a comment first, because I think there were some good comments from the alderman who started out. They do want to see more information in detail on where these projects would be. And the CFO also stated that these would be kind of stretched out over a 2-year period. I know a lot of aldermen have been asking for projects, in particular streetscapes, make sure we get funding for that. And I would ask the CFO if you have, if you've received information on those, what's your typical ask of the departments that are planning this, either DPD, CDOT, water? What's been the issue with aldermen and process, or not only process, but progress on some of the projects they've been asking for?
So the water and wastewater and O'Hara information has already previously been provided to aldermen within the contemplation of those capital plans in previous years. This ordinance, in essence, just funds the continuation of that capital plan. We're happy to provide that information again, but I think to Chairman Wagasback's point, it's not new information. As it relates to the Chicago Recovery Plan, what we've provided through the pamphlet, as well as through the chair request, as well as through the exhibit in the ordinance, is as much breakdown as we have at this point around the specifics around the project, as well as any local level information. And when I, reference additional information that we may provide going forward, it's ultimately around some of the conversations we've been having over the course of the last month or so around a cadence of how we provide the council with regular updates around the Chicago Recovery Plan overall. And so, we're committed to ensuring that we have that information to you on a regular basis. And I know that there's been discussion around what that might look like. But importantly, it's not like we have at this point more local level data around the Chicago Recovery Plan projects.
Chairman, it's Alderman Smith. I had my hand raised. I don't know if anybody else does, but I did.
Yes, I had. Let me go to Alderwoman Garza first, and then to you, Alderwoman Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, all due respect, Chairman Wagasback, and I have to agree with my colleague, Alderman Hairston. in the past, we've always had lists of what the capital projects are going to be. Like I said, I'm prepared to vote on, I was prepared to vote on this, but I really think we need to know what these projects are, because if they're half baked, how do we know that they're even going to get done? I mean, I really think that, you know, you guys owe it to us to let us know what these projects are. And I agree that we should wait until we know what they are before we vote. So that's it. I'm just agreeing with Alderman Hairston and the rest of my colleagues that said that. So
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Smith.
Yeah, I have a question. So just so I'm clear, tell me the relationship between the bond ordinances that we are doing now and those that were talked about in the 2021 5-year capital plan document that I have sitting in front of me.
So these are projects in addition to that capital plan. There was a separate bond ordinance that approved the projects within those capital plans, within that capital plan proposal last year. Ultimately they are a separate proposal.
Could I also ask, just clarifying, Chairman, in terms of the list, as Jenny mentioned, we presented the whole recovery plan in the first through the chair from budget. We did break down, some of these projects are whole, ARP and some of this bond that Jenny's presenting today. Exhibit 3A within the bond packet breaks down all the projects that's part of that recovery plan in the buckets. So I guess I was just wanting clarification if the ask is further.
There is a list.
The list is in Exhibit 3A. I think that's what the CFO Bennett was talking about. That, if you look in the whole recovery plan and in the 05-01 through the chair request, and I'm happy to send it again through the chair for everybody, just to show, the whole project, the ARP component, the bond component, but what you see here is the bond component of that full project, if that's helpful.
can you send that again right now so we could see it?
Yes, I can. Chairman Wagsback, I can send it to you.
Yes, and I can send it out again.
Okay, I'll have someone on my team send it right now.
Okay. Let me go. Alderwoman Smith, did that answer your question?
Yes, I mean, I thought that we've seen the projects. I just want to make sure which one it was. Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman King?
This might be clarifying my question, but in the exhibit, does it say specific projects or where the types of projects are going to be?
They're the broader categories of projects that are within the Chicago Recovery Plan.
Yeah. So I think, to a number of my colleagues' points, this is why the transparency piece, and I think Director Parks spoke on that, and you, Chief Bennett, but that's why it's really important to get that piece right, because it's lots of money going out the door. Obviously, people want to know and be accountable to their constituents about how it's spent. And so maybe you can speak a little to that piece of it, so that we can, okay.
Jenny, did you want to go?
No, I was, I was just going to say, Alderman King, I appreciate that comment because the proposal here as it relates to the GEO recovery bonds ultimately is a part of the broader Chicago Recovery Plan. And it's one plan altogether that we are working through the implementation of. And I think to your point, the really important thing is we get the transparency piece right, which is what I think Susie's going to speak to.
Yes, just to build on Jenny's comment, we've heard from many members of council around what the accountability is going to be on the recovery plan. We will be talking about this tomorrow, but We are proposing a regular check-in. I know, at our hearing right at the beginning, we talked about, at a minimum quarterly, but we've also are coming back with additional accountability around meeting more often than that. We are also going to be reporting out. And, I think what Jenny had said is, some of these have to start. And so we will be reporting on community areas and providing that detail of, which communities are getting the funding, where that impact's going to be across the city. So that is forthcoming once the funding for these projects have been approved.
And just a follow up to that, do you know how we do the 925 kind of report outs? Is there a possibility that we can do something similar with all of these funds? I think those are really helpful. We, it helps to say where, obviously what department, specifically where it's going. Can you speak to that piece?
So the reporting requirement we are proposing is going to be the whole recovery plan. So it will include both the ARP portion as well as the corresponding bond portion that I know we're talking about today. So, like I said, some of these projects are together. This bond makes up the other half of, the ARP investment. And so we will be reporting on both, not just the ARP, which, both federally and, at our city level, we are going to report on, but we will be reporting on the whole recovery plan, which will include the bond package of, what you see today. So it will be together.
And I get that. I just want to understand that how it will be reported. And I think my colleagues, obviously want to understand that the specifics. So can you speak to that?
We are, what we are proposing is to report it, both the financials, of course, but also at the project level, around progress, around, impacted communities. So we are ready to report at that level, which is what I'm hearing in this conversation that many members of council would like. And so, we are proposing to report it down to that level so that everyone can see, how these funds are being spent.
Chairman, thank you. I yield my time to my colleagues. I see there's a lot of interest here.
Thank you. And we did send that around again. It originally went out, I have on the 27th, I believe, from Chairwoman Dowell, if you need to look up, but it just got sent again by Mario from our office. And that's about 8 pages with the broader package of where those dollars would be spent. And it's if you look for it, it's under American Rescue Plan and Local Fiscal Recovery Plan funding, and it's 05-01 new programs. Let me go to Alderman Riley.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just wanted to clarify, I'm not disputing that this information was previously shared with the committee and members of the city council. And in fact, I'd say that the CFO and budget director and their teams have done a great job briefing us. I think the concern, and it's no fault of the budget director or the CFO, is that we do not have a more granular level look at, aside from the buckets, which are at the 30,000 foot view, how does this translate into investments in our respective wards? And I understand that, the administration can't at this point have a definitive list of projects by ward. But what we're being told is, well, we're going to get that information to you after you approve this. And I think there's some concern among colleagues that they may have some priority projects in their wards being driven by their communities that may not fall onto the administration's priority list. And so I guess, what assurances do local aldermen have that they'll get proper consideration? That's one question. Then the second question is a hypothetical. What if there is an instance where the administration wants to make a substantial capital investment in a ward and a local alderman doesn't agree and would rather see that money invested in something else? What would happen in that instance?
So I would offer that this is probably something that speaks to the broader, feedback that we received on the Chicago Recovery Plan. And I know this is a conversation that will be taken up at the Budget Committee tomorrow. And so, I guess the question, becomes to Alderman King's point, how do we craft that cadence and that discussion in a way that gives you relative comfort and others relative comfort around the process, so that you have an ability to confirm that these are projects that you feel are appropriate for your ward. And so to the extent that we can, kind of put a plan around that supports the concerns that have been raised here. I think that would be, probably the best way for us to address all of this, given the fact that it is one Chicago Recovery Plan. The plan, was crafted by a lot of community engagement, a lot of briefings and engagement with this body, as well as ultimately a broader strategy towards how the funds get applied towards the city of Chicago overall. And so want to make sure that we, get enough information to support what the local needs are, but also that the entirety of the plan is considered comprehensively. And to that end, would, offer that transparency and cadence of follow-up reporting is probably the best way for us to address the feedback that we've heard here.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And look, to be clear, I think a lot of the initiatives being funded under the program are good ones. But, you're asking Alderman to take a bit of a leap of faith on expenditures that be made specifically in their respective wards. And again, we're talking about a lot of money here and a lot of competing interests. We just want to make sure that each Alderman gets a chance to properly address concerns and inside the boundaries of the wards we represent. And obviously, the capital program is a big opportunity for that. So anyway, I'll look out for any more granular detail you can provide through the chair. Appreciate all the hard work you put into this. And thank you, Chairman Waguespack.
Thank you, Alderman. Let me go to Alderman Sposato.
Thank you, Chairman. Mine is real simple. If we're going to take a break, I would just ask that we designate a certain time rather than to be back, rather than keep checking and we think we're back. We're not sure if we're back or not. So just a suggestion, just asking for consideration with the break if we do break. Thank you.
I'll take that under advisement. Thank you. Alderman Osterman.
Thank you. Just a question to Susie and Jenny. The capital buckets also includes the bond money for housing. If I'm not mistaken, I think 65 million is part of that.
Yes, that's correct.
For just a little context for my colleagues, I think some of these, we think of capital projects, and there are specific capital projects, but some of these things like the $65 million for housing are going to go for supportive housing projects around the city, SRO refurbishing, and some other supportive housing uses that I think are some of those projects are citywide and they're kind of in process now. So I think it's important to have our input, but also I think give the administration some latitude to have their departments do the work that they need to do. So I wanted to put a little context on that for my colleagues.
And I'm sorry, Alderman Osterman, just to clarify, it's 157 million from the bond specifically for affordable housing.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderman Cardenas.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was along the lines of my colleague, Osterman, in the sense that there's a lot in this bucket, not just the capital projects. And mind you, I don't know if my colleagues have, and I'm sure they've done this, right? We meet with respective departments every year on capital projects, and they check in with us to see what that 5-year plan is looking like. At least I've done in the last few years. So I'm content with the fact that we do have a process. And by the way, Jenny and Susie have been very transparent, more than a lot of CFOs and budget directors in the past, and kind of putting everything out there. You know, the recovery plan has a lot of money for a lot of different programs that isn't just capital. And again, like Osterman, this is important for us to get this done today. The more we labor this is going on Friday, tomorrow's Friday. You know, obviously people are jam-packed with meetings. I'm meeting with my constituents on this very same budget. And I like to go back and just say, this is what we've done. This is what's coming through the pipeline. Because I've been talking about, you know, all of the funding that's in this budget, right? The millions of dollars to affordable housing, as Osterman just mentioned. But there are other things, right? Youth services, there's community development initiatives, $166 million. Now, if you can summarize it, I think I would like to finance, the CFO, Jenny Bennett, to again summarize it again for our folks. There's a process in place already. Let's trust that. I don't know what else you're going to bring. And right now that you're going to have all of the capital projects, you're going to meet individually with these departments one-on-one and hash that out. I don't know that we need to be all in the middle of everybody's business. That's just my opinion. But I like a little more clarity from the finance director the budget director and CFO on this very same topic.
Chairman Wagasback, this is Alderman Vice Chair Hairston. I'm renewing my motion to take a 15-minute recess so we can review the materials. And I would like a roll call vote on that.
I was hoping to get just through the hands and then take that recess.
Okay.
Would you mind if I go ahead and let
I do not mind.
Okay, and then I'm going to take a recess, but I just really wanted to get everyone the opportunity to have their hands up and heard, and then I'll go to that recess
Thank you very much.
As you kind of preferred on that. So I have Alderman Villegas, Smith, and Lopez, and then we'll go to a recess.
Mr.
Just
Chairman,
to preempt it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to basically say that there was a motion, it was seconded. I wanted to stop the debate, act on the motion, and then do whatever we had to do. But it sounds like you're going to recess, so
yeah. Okay. And I apologize, you guys, but when we got the hands up, I know people might be wanting to do specifically what you said there. So I just want to make sure you're all heard, and I probably should have stated that right off the bat that we were going to do that, but want to make sure you're all able to speak. So Alderwoman Smith.
I'm fine with a recess, Chairman. I was just looking at this, and having looked at this before, I understand why people are a little confused. Well, a lot confused, but there are so many different ways that we get capital in our city. You know, the menu, TIFs, which I don't have, TIFs, the 5-year capital plan, federal and state grants, that my understanding and looking at this bond issuance is that it is unique in addressing issues that are different than often, that are different and highlighted. So I'm not going to find my sidewalk in here, or maybe even a park rehabilitation I want, but I am going to find a substantial number of trees here. And there's $157 million in several affordable housing buckets. There are, and under the bond portion, there's a lot of internet broadband stuff that I support. My community is very well supported with broadband. I know so many aren't, but as an alderman, I support other communities getting this broadband access. There's a water reconnection program that's an issue. There's the lead pipe abatement, which is critical for the city wherever it happens. There are owner-occupied repair grants, which I think we're expanding. There's acquisition rehab money for small and mid-sized buildings, development of mixed-use housing, which is, of course, I know that those investments will not be in Lincoln Park or the 43rd Ward. These specific investments, we get investments in my community through other things, a lot of other things. And so these particular ones I recognize are important to the city as a whole, including in particular of I support everything I've just said, but expand 46 million for the tree canopy program, $25.8 million for neighborhood climate resiliency projects, including a bunch of space to grow, but other things, expanding green alleys, $6 million for environmental reviews. And then on homelessness support services, this is a citywide issue that certainly will affect my area, and I'm very glad that it's happening. For permanent supportive housing, non-congregate housing program, $30 million, $20 million to improve the infrastructure in shelters. And then $60 million for new trails, new waste diversion programs, decarbonization, low carbon work, waterway pollution, and then $40 million for clean energy to advocate. And I think a lot of this is directed, again, to communities that have been historically the subject of toxic issues. $82 million to reduce vacant lots, and $54 million to help rehabilitate vacant buildings. $27 million for some.
Shelley, you're muted.
Hold on, Alderwoman. Hold on. Thanks, Alderman.
Sorry, I got muted. I'm sorry. So
go ahead. I'm sorry about
that. I think that mute came up in the middle, right? So all I'm saying is,
yeah. What was that middle part again?
Well, that
I'm kidding.
That there are also.
Come on.
So I have to say that I'm pretty satisfied. I'm actually satisfied that there's certain parts of this that will come to my community, but this is not like the usual. This is really programs that I know, I trust a lot of people will support, because they are really addressing some things that I would call the recovery work that this city needs, and extraordinary investments that have never been made in certain areas like broadband. So that's all I wanted to say. Is I'm looking over this list, and I'm quite blown away by the opportunity that presents.
Okay,
mostly my neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to recognize Alderman Irvin as present for purposes of quorum, and Alderman Lopez. To you.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, members of the committee. Good morning to the entire finance team. I think what we have here is an issue of trust, to be perfectly honest with you. Trust that most of us don't have in this administration to do right by our neighborhoods or the people that we represent. We can look at lists till we're blue in the face. But right now, being asked to write a $660 million, take out a $660 million loan to give you all of that back as a blank check without knowing exactly how that's going to benefit us, or if we're going to be included in how that gets spent or prioritized, is not something I think most of my colleagues, and especially not something I'm comfortable dealing with. I'm glad, Chairman, that I believe I heard you say you're going to hold this or recess to discuss this further. But I think if we had a more collaborative.
Yes, just for clarification, Vice Chair Hairston had asked for a recess, but go ahead. I'm sorry I just want to clarify it for you.
I'm sorry. Then, well, if she asked, is that going to be entertained as a motion or something you're entertaining, Chairman? Or is
yes,
that
I
something
am.
that's
I already said I would, but I just wanted to let you speak. And
okay, no, I appreciate. I thought that's what I heard.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Because I do want to say that I think that the whole point of us being able to start budget season a month earlier was to have these discussions and things hashed out. I don't think we need to feel like we're under the gun to get this done today or next week or even by the end of this month, to be perfectly honest, because that was the whole point of us moving forward, to have fuller discussions, which we haven't had. And if the fuller discussion is centered around this, then so be it. But I, for one, am not supportive of borrowing without knowing, of writing blank checks. And I think that if we're not satisfied with where our priorities are, because to be honest, most of us have not been a part of the conversation on setting the spending priorities under this administration, then unless that's going to change, then I think that we already know what the answer is going to be for this item. Chairman.
Thanks, Alderman. Alderman Osterman and then Dowell, and then I'm going to take a recess.
I don't want to belabor this before the recess, but I think if I would ask my colleagues to go through the list and read the list, and many of us who were at most of the budget hearings had an opportunity to ask the commissioners how they were going to use this funds. I would say that Alderman Smith hit it right on the head when she looked at and talked about how this is a recovery for the entire city. This is going to put significant money into the south and west side for very important programs. So I think all of us should take the time to look at the list and think about how it's going to be used in a constructive way to help lift up our city. Alderman Lopez brought up the issue of trust, and I think a lot of our colleagues, myself included, want to ensure that the money that is programmed from this budget, that there's accountability as it moves forward. And I think that as the budget director alluded to, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but I think under the leadership of Chairman Dowell, I think that there's a framework in place to have a robust accounting for how the money is being spent and how it's being implemented department by department. So I'm prepared at whatever time we come back to support this today. And more importantly, really to see this money be used in a constructive way in every corner of our city, specifically in the communities that have been impacted most by COVID, to really change dynamics and move our city forward in a positive way. So thank you for that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman. And Alderman Dowell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to go into the recess, but, I have to say when, there's discussion about collaboration and trust not happening, I definitely have to say that that's not accurate. We started this budget process early just for the purpose of, making sure that we had input from our community members and from the aldermen. And the budget that the budget that was introduced by the mayor reflects a lot of the ideas that people came to those meetings with. And I'm just going to be frank. A lot of people didn't even show up, but the people who showed up had their priorities discussed, and they're reflected in things like broadband, the issue with the trees, the increase in violence prevention dollars, the food equity projects, or the money for food equity, and I could go on and on. So, I'm prepared to support this ordinance. I think that the administration has showed, that there is a willingness to collaborate, and we have to build on trust. Trust is earned, and we, hopefully through the accountability and transparency discussions that have been put forward by some of my colleagues, we will be able to have input and robust discussion about how these bond monies and ARP monies get spent in our communities. And people just have to participate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Alderman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just point of information.
Yes.
I know everyone talking about they got the package and looking at the package. I haven't. How are you all sending us the package? Because I don't see the package.
The one document that was sent was to your city email, and it was just a 8-page document, but we are going to recess and I think come back with additional information. So you might be able to open it up. It should come from Mario Hollemans on the, it should be 05-01 in the.
Oh,
in the
okay.
lines.
I see Mario. Okay. I guess.
Yes.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Alderwoman Garza?
Yes, I just want to say one thing. Thanks for sending that list. And Chairman Dahl, I trust you immensely. You have always been open, honest, and transparent. And it was my fault. You sent this out on the September 27th. I overlooked it. This list is very helpful for me. And I just want to say thank you. And I overlooked it. So thank you very much for sending that out on the 27th of September. Thanks.
Okay, Alderman Cardenas, and then I'm going to go to recess.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it one more time. I think it's not a trust issue. I think Chairman Dahl's done a phenomenal job of putting the information out there, really point by point on where the money's going. The list has been out there. I have it in front of me. Let's not politicize this process, right? Everything else in the Chicago now is being politicized. We know where the money's going to go. We have all this great list that was put together, hard work by our finance folks, and you know it's sad that some of our colleagues are joining in the bandwagon of politicizing everything that we do, and I think it's sad. But let's go to recess and then go over the list so everybody's comfortable with what we got. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I do want to make sure we get whatever additional information we have during that recess, or at least the process to get it to them. So before I do that, though, Alderwoman Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at it. I've opened it, but it doesn't open up completely. Can I get it sent to me again, please?
Sure, I will have that done immediately.
All right, thank you.
You might. Are you on, Chairwoman? Are you on? Is it? It should open as a PDF for you.
Yeah, it opened as a PDF, but there's nothing there.
Oh, okay. We'll resend it right away.
Right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alderman Beal.
Mr. Chairman, can we please recess so we can get moving this thing along?
That's what I was getting to, but as I always say, I want to hear from our colleagues first and make sure
everybody's
that they have a
repeating
voice.
themselves, and
not sort of, but still an opportunity to speak. So with that, I'm going to go to Vice Chair Hairston's motion to recess. We're going to take a break until 12:05. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're reconvening the Committee on Finance. Let me just check to make sure everybody's still in here. All right. So we had Vice Chair Hairston wishing to take a recess there, and just want to clarify, Alderman Villegas, was yours a motion to recess, or was it a motion to defer?
Chairman, my motion was to second Vice Chairman Hairston's motion to recess in order to get some more information on a lump sum budget request that's being proposed before the committee.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Sorry, there were so many other kind of questions in there. I wasn't sure from other folks exactly what had happened. So I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a roll call, but I also have reiterated to the department heads here, to the CFO, to the budget director, that we need to see detail, especially for those aldermen who have requested particular things in their wards. And I would just reiterate too that we had capital briefings, and I hope that everybody was able to make it to their individual ward capital briefings. And I recall within that there were obviously the menu, but there were other projects going on. So I would just maybe take a second look at that as well. And with that, Alderman Lopez, did you have something to add? Thank you, Chairman Villegas.
Mr. Chairman. Sorry, Chairman, I was just trying to, if you could repeat what the motion was that we're voting on.
Motion to approve item 02214788 by roll call vote. That would be item number 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. All right, and with that, we will do a roll call vote on item number 3. Okay, let's see here. All right, Vice Chair Hairston,
Aye.
Alderman Hopkins,
Aye.
Alderwoman Dowell,
Aye.
Alderwoman King, Alderman Sawyer. Alderman Sawyer, you actually had a Rule 14. I'll put you down as a Rule 14, but if you want to reiterate it when you get back on. And then we have Alderman Mitchell.
Present. Or aye.
Aye. Alderwoman Harris.
Aye.
Alderman Beal. See you in your. Can you hear me, Alderman Beal?
Nope.
Okay. Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza.
Aye.
Alderman Thompson. Rule 14, Alderman Thompson. Same thing, if you could reiterate it when you get back on there. But I believe you had already spoken to that. Alderman Cardenas.
Aye.
Alderman Quinn.
Aye.
Alderman Burke.
No.
Alderman Lopez.
No.
Alderman Moore.
Alderman Moore is an aye.
Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea.
Aye.
Chairman
Alderman-
Alderman King is an aye.
Thank you. Alderman Brookins. Sorry about that, Alderman Brookins. Go ahead. I think he was in the car there. Alderwoman Tabaris. Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tabaris, was that you? Okay. Alderman Irvin.
Alderman Irvin's an aye.
There you go. Alderman Taliaferro. Alderman Roboris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Austin.
Aye.
Alderman Villegas. Alderwoman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Sposato.
Nick Sposato's a yes.
Okay. Politano is out. Alderman Riley. Second. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney.
Yes.
Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Silverstein. And I had Alderwoman King as a yes.
Silverstein is an aye.
Okay, thank you.
Torres is an aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Tabaris is an aye. Alderwoman
Thompson
Silverstein.
is,
Rule 14.
Chairman Thompson's here. I don't know if this is the roll call or for the vote.
Aye. I'm sorry. I'm having internet issues.
Okay. Alderman Thompson, this is for the bond levy, which you had stated earlier you will Rule 14.
Right. I thought
Alderman
we needed another roll call on whether we're here. Sorry.
It's okay. Alderman Brookins, I have you as yes.
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. I'm having internet issues, so I'm gonna jump off.
That's okay. And Alderman Sawyer indicated Rule 14 as well. And Chairman Wagasback is an aye.
Chairman, this Alderman Villegas, I'm an aye too.
Okay, with Alderman Villegas, I had 27, I believe, and 3 nays. And with that, the motion carries on item number 3, 27-3, with 2 Rule 14s from Alderman Sawyer and Alderman Thompson. And ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the, wait, let me just check, make sure there's no hands. Okay. That concludes the agenda for the Committee on Finance. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody's input. And I think the Budget Director and the Finance Chair.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman. I got some long questions I want to ask. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
To adjourn, Chairman, after Alderman Burnett.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time today and the great questions. And I know that we have given the budget director, the comptroller, and the chief finance officer some questions that they need to answer and get back to you. I hope that they're able to get this very quickly. We still have a few more days to get that information out. And if there are any questions or if you need anything through the chair, let us know and we can either resend it or get that information back to you. And also, Chairwoman Dowell's staff has sent out, I think, well over 100, maybe 150 of the documents that we also requested. So just take a look at those again. And within that, there were some finance committee questions that were answered, but we will push to get that information to you as soon as we get it. And this concludes the Committee on Finance meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Alderman Lopez.
So moved by Papa. And by affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those that want to stick around say no.
No.
Okay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you everyone for your time and diligence today. Thank you.